Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to you from my end. It's 2 p.m. in the afternoon here in Central Time, US, and good morning to you, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. We are really excited for the conversation we are going to have today. As usual, I'm going to be looking at the chat. I always want to make sure my technology is in place and you can hear me before I start going on and on. So I'm going to be looking on the chat. Please, if you can hear me, just let me know that you are here and say something right back. That way I'm sure that we are making progress and we are communicating. Welcome, everyone. We're excited today. We'll be talking about the science of writing, which is such an important topic because it cuts across so many things, right? If you know how to write, that's something that I derive a lot of joy in learning about, in teaching other people, because I understand that writing is really the basis of communication. Before you get very great at communicating, you need to be very great at your writing skill will need to really improve. So we have the honor and the pleasure of having two experts join us today, together with my co-host, Dr. Augusta. We are going to be really diving in deep into writing. So I'm really looking at the chat to see the first person that comes into the room. Even though I've come to understand that there is a lag time, I think there's a bit of a 1 minute lag time before you hear what I say. It's such a funny technology to me. So I'm just kind of taking it slow. Once you can hear me, I always want to make sure that you can hear me and then we can get started. Welcome, welcome everyone. We are really excited. I think we had, I didn't check. As of the last time I checked, I probably think we had, um, oh yeah, Pastor Alo is here. I want to see how many people we had that registered for this event finally. So I'm just taking a peek to see how many registrants we had for this event, just as we wait for people to join us. I'm just taking a look to see. Okay, so we have over 400 people registered for this event. So usually we have the events packed, we have a lot of people, and it's the exciting part. The exciting part is the learning journey and the three-way conversation we always have. Thank you, Pastor Alo, for being the first person to come. You say science of writing, wonderful topic. Mercy is also here. Mercy says hello. Hello to you, Mercy. Thank you so much. Let us know where you are joining from, right? Let us know where you are joining from. Pastor Alo says he's joining from Lagos, Nigeria. That's exciting. So just let me know where you are connecting from, just so I can give you a shout out. Thank you for coming. Chidi is here. He said he's excited to connect. Yeah, we are excited right back. And then James says hello. Hello to you, James. Where are you joining from? Dr. Augusta says she's hearing me loud and clear. Thank you very much. And he said, lots of people. And then we have someone from Ethiopia. That is Mebratu. I hope that's the right way to say your name. Thank you so much. Your account looks very like it doesn't look familiar to me. So I'm always happy to connect with new people. Thank you so much for joining today's session all the way from Ethiopia. Joy says she's joining from Abuja, Nigeria. I've missed being in Nigeria. It's been a minute since I was in Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining. And then Mercy says she's also joining from Lagos, Nigeria. Okay, that's a good mix. And then Samson is joining from Accra, Ghana. Beautiful. That's good to know. And then Oluga is joining from South Africa. Okay, thank you for joining. Thank you for letting me know. And then James is joining from Abuja. Thank you all for coming in. I'm always so excited with how attentive people have become with our events and how people are always here on time, ready to get started. It helps us to stay on track. It helps us to have a conversation that is just to the point. I always like to respect people's time, and usually our events go on for 1 hour, 30 minutes. That's usually the time mark for most of all our events. We try to keep it within that time. We bring in experts of a particular subject and just help to share knowledge on different concepts, different topics. And for today, we are really going to be talking about writing, which is everybody's business, right? Writing is everybody's business. I see someone saying they are joining us from Australia. Thank you so much for joining. Tega from Australia, we are happy to see you. Thank you so much. One more thing that this event does for you is that it's a networking event. You see so many people joining in from all across the world. What does it tell you? You have something in common with them. That's exactly what it tells you. The fact that you are willing to take out time from your Saturday, whether it's morning for you, whether it's afternoon, whether it's evening, the time you should be using to probably rest and do something else, you decide to be here and connect. You want to take full advantage of this event as a networking event. Connect with the people in the chat, right? Get them, make them your friends. Really, really connect with them. It's not just about having a large following, but it's about having a following that know who you are. That's the first thing. The second thing is help us to share the event. Just as the event is starting, there could be people who are just coming into LinkedIn that are just aimlessly scrolling, and you just sharing the event, and they probably see it and they will come in. So please just help us repost the event. That's the least you can help us do, just so we can get as many people in as possible. I see Abudu from Ghana. Thank you so much for joining. Dr. Foster is joining from South Carolina. Thank you so much for joining. We see all of you. Thank you so much for being here on time. And then I see Capo, he says joining from Ogun State, Nigeria. Okay, we are also streaming live on YouTube. I see Capo is joining from YouTube. So sometimes the network on LinkedIn may not be so great. You can join in on YouTube. Augusta, if you could help me put the link of the YouTube in the chat, that would be great. That way, people could also join on YouTube. If they want to join on YouTube, you can join on YouTube, you can join on LinkedIn. It's all the same. Okay, so before we get started, my name is Dr. Amaka. For the new people who don't know me, some of you, I believe, most of you are quite familiar with me, but for those of you who don't know, I'm the founder and lead coach of Scholar of Mentoring Academy. And at Scholar of Mentoring Academy, we have we do two main things that we can put under two sentences. The first thing that we do is that we help students who are aspiring to come to grad school in the US. That's what I do. Augusta, who works with me, helps students who are trying to go to grad school in France. So I would say between the both of us, we help to support students who are trying to get into grad school, for me in the US, and for her, for students who are trying to go to grad school in France. She's in France and I'm in the US, right? So that's the first thing. We help you with your application. We help you to review your essays just to make sure that it's competitive and it's good to go, right? You know how competitive it is to get a fully funded scholarship. So that's the first arm. The second thing we do at Scholar of Mentoring Academy is to help busy professionals to build their personal brands on LinkedIn. So we have our monthly LinkedIn Elevation program. For those of you who have not been part of that program, you're missing a lot. This is cohort 10. So we've been on it for 10 months. We are in the 10th cohort. In this program, we're really targeting professionals who are busy, because that's who I am, right? I'm also very busy. And I know what it looks like to feel like you don't have the time to show up for yourself. You don't have the time to show up and build the right connection for global opportunities. So we have a program that is structured that will help you with your content strategy, with your visibility, to guide you on the best way to come and showcase your message to the world and find your own tribe and your own people. So that's basically what we do at Scholar of Mentoring Academy. And we're excited to have you here. We really welcome you. Before I keep going on and on, I think I have a 1-minute video that could just sum what I'm saying, and then we can get started for today's event. So
Success begins with the right guidance and opportunities. And at Scholar Up Mentoring Academy, we are here to help you unlock your full potential. Whether you're preparing for graduate school applications or building a standout professional presence on LinkedIn, we provide the tools and support you need to thrive. Our programs are designed to help you craft a compelling personal brand, position yourself for global opportunities, and achieve your dreams. Led by Dr. Amaka Ifaduba, a dedicated mentor and coach, Scholar Up empowers you with personalized mentoring, actionable resources, and proven strategies to take bold steps toward a brighter future. Scholar Up Mentoring Academy is more than a program. It's a community dedicated to helping you succeed. Take the first step today and discover how we can guide you on your journey to greatness. Follow our page for updates and access all our resources at linktree.com/scholarupacademy. Your success story starts here.
Okay, that is Scholar of Mentoring Academy in sum. Thank you all. I see so many other people that have joined. Colombe says she's joining from Des Moines, Iowa. I miss being in Iowa. Iowa is one state in the US that I've visited 4 times. I don't know why I've been there 4 times in just 2 or 3 years. Something keeps pulling me back. We are really excited that you're joining us. Samuel is joining from Ghana. We see you. Chiwi is joining from Lagos, Nigeria. We see you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to get started this minute. I'm going to first of all bring in my co-pilots. You all know her already. Wherever you see me, if Augusta is not around me, then maybe it's not the real me, right? Dr. Augusta, it's so exciting to have you here. I know you are really busy traveling, been doing so much, going to Kenya and traveling all over the world. Thank you, ma'am, for gracing us with your presence. We are honored to have you here. Could you quickly introduce yourself while I bring in our two esteemed guest speakers today? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for having me. Like, I had some reasons to say I won't show up, but I know what we're building at Scholar Up, and I was like, no matter what happens, I'm gonna try my best to show up, and I'm glad I did. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I am Augusta Imamon. I'm a medical doctor, not a PhD yet. I'm in France. So I help international students studying in France. And recently I went to Kenya to do the Lord's work to recruit students, preach the gospel of French education to them. And I'm
Mm.
on my way back home now. So I'm glad to connect with you here. I'm also a student, so I do a lot of academic writing, and I'm looking forward to learn from our experts here. So let's start the show. Thank you, Maka.
Thank you so much, Dr. Augusta. I'm so happy that you were able to join despite how busy you are. We have with us here Dr. Samira. I'm so happy that you said yes. I was going to try. Like, is she going to say yes? I was like, what's the worst thing that can happen? She says no. Thank you so much for honoring my invitation. It's really so exciting that you honored our invitation and you came here to share your expertise. I've been following your work. I see how much you've helped students. This is really your thing, right? This is really like your niche. And when we were like academic writing, that's the person that I know who has, since the moment I showed up on LinkedIn, I've seen you talk about it in one shape or form. So I'm so excited that you were able to join us here today. Please kindly introduce yourself while I bring in Dr. Myles. And it's just a conversation with doctors, right? Lots of doctors in the mix. Okay, let's
Absolutely.
go.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm super happy to be here. It's an exciting opportunity. And for anyone who is joining this event, welcome. Super happy to have you here as well. And please don't hesitate to drop messages, ask your questions. We want this session to be as fruitful as possible. And
Mhm.
I'm here, more than happy and excited to talk about publication. That's my one thing, my expertise, and I would love to have the opportunity of sharing as much as I can.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We are honored to have you. Dr. Miles, all the way from Australia. Let me tell you something. It's 5 a.m. in Australia, and Dr. Miles is here looking sharp, looking well put together. Like, thank you so much. I really appreciate your sacrifice. I appreciate the passion. Sometimes you see the passion people have for what they do by the extent they are willing to go to really show up and share that knowledge. So we really appreciate you for being here. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we can get this show on the road. Let's get the show on the road.
Yeah, it's nice to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. As Dr. Maka has said, I'm dialing in from Australia, and I'm a lecturer here at the university, the Swinburne University of Technology. I'm also a registered nurse, and I'm in two fields, one in the humanities and the other one in the clinical setting, which is purely mental health. And I'm happy to come in here and talk about academic writing. I know Dr. Amaka Feduba says it's the science of writing.
Mhm.
A lot of people call it the art of writing.
Well, that's true. I agree with you.
I see it as a craft of
Mhm.
writing, something
Okay.
that once you're practicing, you can always get your hand around it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so that's good. So we have the science and the art of writing. For me, I have a plant breeding background, right? So we usually define plant breeding as the art and the science. So it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
you have to have the two of them together, right? It's not just one. You need to understand the science behind when you're doing that. Can we mute when we are not talking so we don't have our mics kind of interfering with each other? Sometimes it affects the sound if we have all of it on. So thank you so much. I see so many other people joining. We have Dr. Anna. Dr. Anna is joining us from London. Dr. Anna, thank you so much for being here. We also have somebody from Pakistan. Oh, okay. Being from Pakistan, we're excited that you were able to dial in. Thank you so much, everyone. Like Dr. Samira said, if you have any question, I'm always monitoring the chat. So my eyes goes everywhere, literally, because this event is not a four-way conversation between the four of us. If it was about us, we could just be on a Zoom call, right? We won't be doing it here. The reason why we are hosting this event here is to make sure that we are answering your question where it's more meaningful to you. So at any given time, a speaker says something you don't understand, just put a question in the chat. I'm going to call their attention back to it. I know that Dr. Samira is going to leave us in about 45 minutes. Like you need to leave in the 1 hour mark, right? You said you had something else. So I'm going to kind of ask one question to her, one to Dr. Myles, and then I'll focus more on her questions just to make sure we get it all out of her in that 1 hour. I want to make sure we get as much as we can before she has to drop off the call, and then we'll continue with Dr. Myles to finish the second 30 minutes mark, and then we'll close 1 hour, 30 minutes, just as usual. So thank you so much, all of you. I know everybody is busy, so if you can make out 1 hour, 1 hour, 30 minutes to just do this work, it really speaks so well to your passion for what you're doing. We truly, truly appreciate it. So let's jump right in. Now we are about to start. Dr. Samira, I'm going to start with you, right? I just want to ask you a question. I believe that I've had a lot of experience with writing myself. You don't go through, if you go through so many degrees, even a master's degree and a PhD, then you've had a lot of struggles with writing. And one thing that I've seen people struggle a lot with is writer's block, right? You know, people suddenly reach a point where it's like, it's not flowing. I don't know what to do again. So I just want to start that conversation from there, because I know it's more common with people in the academic field. You reach a point, you don't know what to do, especially there's a deadline. If you are in academics, there's always a deadline. And suddenly you are facing writer's block. How do you move forward from it? How do you get the motivation to go on when you are not feeling it? What are some of the tricks that you've, with the people you've worked with, how do you help them through situations like that so that they can move forward and achieve the success that they are hoping for? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amaka. This is such a great question. And of course, it happens to the best of us. Before joining this event, I saw this funny post of someone being in a coffee shop, and the next table, there is this girl with her laptop. She opens a Word document, and on top it's called dissertation, and she's just gazing at it for 2 hours, nothing happens. So I guess that's very common. And one way to make life easy is a system to start from the heart of the paper. So when we are conducting a project, of course, we take frequent notes. For every PhD student who joins my team, I always give them 2 notebooks. One is the small one in their lab coat, and the other one is the big one. I mean, nowadays we don't need the big one. We write on we type on computer. But as we are doing a research, we take note. As we are refining our methodology, we take note on a daily basis. And if you do that, and if you're a systematic researcher, guess what? Your methodology section is already written. You really don't have to worry about that. Then it comes to the results and discussion. I would always suggest my mentees to start from the heart of the paper, because once you've collected your results, you can take a look at what you have, and then you start the narrative around that. It would be incredibly difficult and inefficient if you want to start from the top of the paper and go to the bottom. It doesn't work that way. In fact, when I receive manuscripts from mentees, I'm a faculty trainer, so I receive a lot of submissions from the faculty. When I see there's a title, there's an abstract, and there's a bit of introduction, immediately shows me that it's an inexperienced writer. So we start from the result, because that's the core of what we're offering. That's the reason why everybody reads the paper, right? So they want to see what kind of result you're offering. So if you start from there, the story branches out very beautifully, and you don't have to really do much about it. And if you ask me, methodology is already out. So following this system greatly helps. But even with that, we might still have some blocks in terms of we holding ourselves back, because this happens very frequently. We sometimes become the biggest enemy of ourselves. We start doubting in our work, doubting in our abilities. That's also normal. It's just pushing it forward, right? Like taking it one step at a time. Do not look like a 20,000 step ahead of you, because it becomes really difficult. There's no lift to take you from where you are to where you want to be. You have to take it one step at a time. and you just make progress each day, and you look back and feel grateful that I made some progress, and then you keep pushing forward. And also just get rid of the idea of perfection, because perfection doesn't exist. It's such an illusion. We get better as we do things, so by doing it we actually become better, not by waiting and hoping that I reach a point that I'm so good that I just go ahead and write flawlessly. That's not going to happen. So it's just continuous work, dedication, the tenacity that we need to keep going, stay the course no matter what. And one thing that I teach my mentees is to really start with the end in mind. Understand what's your purpose in life. That's the first thing that I do when someone joins my program. I help them understand their purpose in life. When you know why you're waking up every morning, everything else becomes easy. No matter how many ups and downs, how difficult life might be, but when you know what you're up to, what kind of mark you want to leave behind, then everything else is just part of the plan. That's what I can suggest.
That's a good one. Thank you. You said a couple of things that stuck with me, and that is you have to take all the stairs. So just focus on the one in front of you. Don't think about all the 20,000 steps you have to climb, because there's no elevator, right? Most of the time I tell people the elevator to success is often broken. So it's just you, the stairs and the climb, and your willingness to take every step of the way. And then the idea of getting rid of perfection, I think that is also good. I just had to type that down. It's very important that whenever you want to start, you understand that it is the journey that makes you better. It is the journey that prepares you. So thank you so much for that feedback. That was really, really very thoughtful. While we were speaking, we had Engineer Patrick. He joined us. He said he was happy to be here. Engineer Patrick, we're happy to have you here. Thank you for joining in. And like I said again, please help us share the event. If you have any question, drop it on the chat, and I'm going to just bounce back to our speakers. So Dr. Myles, I'm going to take one question for you. And for your question, I want to know, what are some of the mistakes? Because I know that when it comes to writing, there's a lot of misconception. And I think Dr. Samira already mentioned some of them. But I want you to kind of answer us in a systematic or in a structured way. What are some of the mistakes that you see scholars who are trying to write for academic journals that they make, and then it keeps them stuck, or it stops them from making the progress that they are supposed to make?
Okay, I think there are so many mistakes, but I'll just focus on a few of them. One of them could be, let's say, writing to confuse the audience, using a lot of big grammars, maybe getting some big names from the dictionary to make themselves feel like, oh, I'm that intelligent. And yeah, sometimes you read a work and you're wondering what's going on here. So that's one mistake they make. I think the best way to fix this kind of mistake is, just like you're an academic writer, be a reader too. Read a lot, and especially the recent academic works that are being released, the journal articles that are being released. Try to see what's going on, how people are writing. You could learn from that. Another mistake is using outdated terminology. I got in trouble for this not too long ago. I was writing about a case study where a client was coming from a family and he had mental health issues and also had a tendency to commit crime. And I used the term dysfunctional family. And my supervisor was mad at me. He nearly flipped the table. And he says, you don't use this kind of term in clinical mental health, particularly when it comes to recovery. But in saying that, in the area of humanities where I'm interested in, there's a study called madness study, which the term madness is still allowed to use. Meanwhile, in mental health, we're not allowed to use the term madness. And also they even use words like lunacy. Some call it referring to someone as a lunatic. And in my field, in the clinical mental health, that is not allowed at all. And also another mistake they make again is referencing every single sentences. Full professors are doing this. You are referencing every sentence. It makes the work very difficult to read. And at the end of the day, those kind of works will kind of see rejections. And I think the best way to deal with that is write a sentence that is referenced, and then use about 2 or 3 more sentences to explain that line that you already referenced. And I think that does the trick. I collaborate with the team, and I sent a work for review, and someone recommended that we reference every line. That is not allowed. And then the last one I would mention is undermine the abstract. I've been guilty of this in the past. You put a lot of work into writing, and then you put about 5 minutes into creating the abstract. Abstract is supposed to be the hook. It's what draws the reader in. And once you mess up the abstract, who wants to read your work? So these are some of the mistakes scholars make when trying to write for academic journals.
I think you mentioned some things that rang a bell in my head. And that is the first thing you mentioned about writing to confuse. I think sometimes maybe people do that when they feel like, if I can sound intelligent enough, then I can convince everybody that I know what I'm saying, right? If I can use ambiguous terms, if I can use heavy words, and I've read papers like that. There are times when I was getting my master's or getting my PhD, you start reading a paper and you're like, am I really learning anything from this paper, or is it just making my situation more difficult? So thank you for highlighting some of those. And then about using updated terms, I think that is also very important to realize what is allowed in your field, right? So you are not committing like an offense that will just make people feel like, oh, wow, you are just out of point. Thank you so much for sharing all of those nuggets with us. And I'm sure Augusta is taking notes. And the beauty of the live events now, before we used to host a lot of audio events before LinkedIn now switched to live events. And all of those audio events are lost. We don't have a record of it. Because once you finish the event, that's it. You cannot even make reference to it. These days, when I even go to invite people, I can tell them, go look at what we've done. Go look. So I have something to make reference to. So now I'm beginning to enjoy the video events, because when we were making the transition, it was so stressful. Oh, now we have to dress up and come on camera. But for the audio event, you can be on your bed in your PJs and you're talking. But when you put it on balance, you realize that this helps you to even document, right? It helps in the documentation. It helps people who are not here to go back and watch and learn from it. So I'm no longer complaining. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. I think Professor Roxana came in while you were talking. Professor Roxana, we see you. Happy Saturday. Thank you very much for joining us here. We're excited to have you. And I think Rose says, referencing every sentence is something else. Yeah, well, people do that, right? I think people do that, trying to reference every sentence. So Dr. Samira, I'm going to come back to you to ask you your second question. I know part of the challenges I faced personally when I was doing my PhD was choosing the right journal for my work. Is it too high? Is it too low? What is the best fit? There's always that question. I used to sit down with my advisor when I finished writing the paper. It's like, okay, which journal should we select? There's that part of you that, you feel that imposter syndrome, like, I don't want to aim too high because I don't want it to be rejected. I also don't want to go too low, and I'm kind of reducing the quality of my work. So as someone who has been in this field for such a long time, guiding people, what tips would you be able to provide for people who are trying to select the best fit? How do you make that decision?
That sounds like a very important question, and that's something that many complain about when I have the conversations. They say, I don't know how to choose the right journal. And particularly with all the predatory journals, hijack journals, it's a very scary landscape, to be honest, and we as scholars have to be super cautious of where we are sending our works. So I would say it comes with practice. We become a lot more logical and realistic with our choices of journal. At the beginning, we might I have PhD students who come to me with journals like impact factor 50, 60, 20, and I'm like, okay, I go with your choice. We can give it a try, even though I'm sure, like, before we go back to the office, this is going to be rejected. So I think part of it comes with practice. The first thing that I want to clarify here is just rejection is just so normal. Please get used to it. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, sometimes it means that your work is bad, right? So let's also be okay with that. But rejection, without getting rejection, you're never going to become an established author in academia, in the scientific world. So be okay with it. And of course, again, it comes with practice. There comes a time that you see the email, you see the first line, we regret to inform, and you're like, whatever, next. So At the beginning is very difficult. Of course, I remember my first rejection, I cried, so I was really sad. But right now, I'm like, next, what's next? So, what choice of journals? So there are multiple lists that we can consult with first to make sure that we're not choosing the wrong ones. So there are multiple publishers that have sadly got a really bad reputation. They've earned a very poor reputation, so we want to stay away from them. We don't want to stain our profile as scientists. And then what are the right choices of the journal? So one tip that I can give you, don't worry about the choice of journal in the beginning. Just choose the right keywords that are reflecting your work, and then run a very thorough and systematic search in the literature and see what kind of articles are really your North Star, which kind of articles are guiding you in your research. And then once you start kind of narrowing it down the list to some articles that are the most relevant to you, then do the reverse engineering, see what journals they've been published in. So you already have a list of journals. And of course, choose the Scopus metrics, Web of Science metrics, list them down based on impact factor, based on CITES score, and obviously give it a shot to the highest impact factor and highest CITES score, and be fine with receiving the slap right back. If it got rejection, it's fine, then go down the list, right? But one thing you're sure, if there is a study that you're taking under consideration as a similar work to yours and it's been published, by the way, check out the recent papers. Don't go back in time, because journals' interest and their standard changes over time, right? So you want to take a look at the past couple of years, and if you see something that's interesting, as more or less the same as yours, then there's a very high chance that your paper also would get accepted in that journal. So list it down according to the impact factor and give it a shot to the highest one. And if it didn't get accepted, go for the second, the third. I would always say to my mentees, choose 5 journals, and in between the 5, you will eventually stop somewhere.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's very insightful. Yeah, you're right about rejections becoming normal, right? I remember when I was doing my PhD, I had one of my papers rejected. It felt like the end of the world for the first time. And then at some point, it was like, oh, okay. You just feel like it's not like, it's not a rejection that your work was not important as you explained it. So I feel like that is also very important to highlight, that as you start this journey of trying to document your work, put out your work out there, just be convinced in yourself that what you're sharing is important. And for most of the time, I came to realize that review processes can be very subjective. It can be so subjective that I've received a review paper back, and the 2 people that reviewed it had opposite opinions. While one person was saying, wow, such a great job, so novel, we've never seen anything like it. Another person said it was all like, this is nonsense, like this does not have any meaning. And then it makes you wonder, I think, could you speak to that? I'm just wondering, because for me, this is a personal opinion, that I begin to wonder, how objective is this process if 2 experts, 2 professionals review the work and they have opposite ideas? This person says it's so great, and this person says, I've never seen anything worse than this. So how do you react to that?
I completely understand. This happened recently to one of my mentees. He got 2 very, very favorable responses from the reviewers, and the third one said, no, reject by all means, this is a piece of trash. So I had to tell him, like, okay, take a breath, cool down, this is okay. So it is definitely like there are a lot of fluctuations in the opinion, and we have to read between the line, right? So we are not also sentenced to whatever the reviewers say. You know, if you're receiving harsh comments, you can be, really honor their time and effort. That's really important. They are putting this pro bono time, effort into providing you some feedback. So become objective and become the best judge of your own work, and see what part of it makes sense. And if you see it doesn't make sense, just don't apply the comments that don't make sense. You have another choice for submitting your work somewhere else that would receive the work with better set of comments, hopefully. But at the end of the day, I think it's just reading between the lines and understanding what comments are useful. Sometimes also remember, the academic community are overworked and underpaid. So that's the reality. So they really don't want to spare time. They are just doing to check off the boxes and be able to get promotion or step up, right? Sometimes actually they are not really judging the work according to the value. So we want to make sure that we also take time, if it's a major revision, if it's a minor revision, take time to show them, like, these and these and these comments that you're mentioning, these are actually within the manuscript. maybe they failed to see it, maybe they didn't have time to check it properly. So I think it comes really down to an understanding and showing some compassion for the reviewers and knowing that they're doing their best with the pro bono activity that they're offering, and reading between the lines, and really not taking anything personally. It's really not personal. It's about the work, it's about the study, it's about the quality, and it's about the objective to eventually get the papers accepted.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. Yeah, because I have had a case where a reviewer is saying something that it was totally different from what the objective of the work is, and then you begin to question, did you actually read it? It's like now you're trying to tell him, no, that's not what it's about. No, you've just changed the objective. That's not what is written. It's true. I love how you put it that we need to show compassion. You need to understand it's pro bono, and people are overworked and they really want to get through your paper as quickly as they can. So it's your job to try to make it as easy for them as possible. So just make it easy for them to say yes. So thank you so much for providing that insight. Yeah, so we have Mary joining us from Canada. She says she's here from Canada. Thank you, Mary, from being here. And Coach Bobby, I'm just seeing you. Thank you for coming. He says he's taking notes, valuable insights shared. So thank you so much, Coach Bobby, for joining us today. We're really excited to have you here. And I'm looking at the comments for question. If you have a question, please just maybe put a question in front, just so I know that it's a question. Just put a question so we can see that you're having a question. That would be great. Okay, so I'm going to. Oh wow, sorry, I think I mistakenly took Augusta out. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to Dr. Myles with your question. Dr. Myles, how do you personally approach organizing your thoughts, right? Because I believe so much that when it comes to writing, it's about organizing your thoughts, about how do you really organize your thoughts before you start writing for a grant, writing for a paper. I know for you, you speak a lot about the art of writing, coming from both art and science. So I want to understand, is there a system that you make use of that actually helps people such that you don't just jump right in and then you get stuck, but you actually start the process and make it systematic to make it easier for you to complete the job? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I think the first question that comes to mind is, are you passionate about what you're writing about? Are you passionate about the topic? If you don't have any passion or you don't have any interest around the topic, you're going to get bored and you're going to stop writing. It's I think passion has a lot to do with it. And also, I know this has been spoken about. It takes a lot of mental energy to actually start writing a paper. And I know a lot of time we talk about writer's block. You're just stuck. You can't go anywhere from there. Someone said something the other day that I heard. She said, there's nothing like writer's block. Especially for we in academia. You can't just say, oh, I'm not going to go to work because your work is to write. Imagine waking up one day and say, oh, I have work block, so I can't go to work. So if we have that mindset, then we know we have to carry on with our writing. And also, once you set out to write, it's good to start with writing an outline on how, and these outlines you're going to write regarding the area or topic of interest. They're like branches, and it keeps you focused, and you create a mindset that's like, I'm not going to write anything outside these, and you just write under those headings. And once you start writing, don't try venturing off into what was not intended. If you have another idea coming in, you can note it one side, put a note about it on one side. It could come up, it could make another paper. Just keep focused, just keep writing. And in my field, in the clinical aspect of my field, once you come up with a topic, the first thing we're encouraged to do is to do a scoping review or a literature review, which can be published as a paper. And in that literature review, you're trying to find gaps. And these gaps you're finding, yes, they'll come up in the paper that you're going to publish, but they can also come up or lead to other research you're going to do. For me, I'm a qualitative researcher. and I could also just broaden my area into like doing interviews with clinicians in my field or with the patients, And as one other important thing to note is, as you write, continue to state the relevance of that research. I know there's a section for that where you state the relevance or the significance of the research, but as you go along, because when readers are reading your work, they are asking themselves, why is this relevant to me? And once you start writing, have that mindset that you're writing for an examiner, like you're preparing for an exam and, expect rejection, expect them to fail you. And you just have to do your best to try and nail it. So I think that's my take.
Thank you so much. That was really very insightful, right? It's I like the idea when you say have an outline and then try not to veer off your outline as often as possible. I think that was a challenge I used to have when I was doing my PhD. You have a plan, and then our advisors, they always have wonderful ideas. I think that was the part of doing a PhD that stressed me out so much, that you receive so much ideas, new ideas, new ideas. I got to a point and I said, I don't want any more new ideas. Like, I don't want any more new ideas. Let me work with the ideas I already have, because I'm getting stressed by all the new and different ways you can do something. Oh, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? Why don't you try this? And before you know, you're running in 10 different directions and you're not making any progress. So that was really, really very insightful, that sometimes have a plan, as much as possible, stick to that plan. If new things come up for you, put it on one side, try to see if you can focus on that one thing until success. I feel like that's going to really help you. I think that stood out for me from every wonderful thing that you shared. And I think, Dr. Samira, the question I'm going to ask you just kind of piggyback to Dr. Myles' question, which is, how do you really make this whole process of writing, how do you make it engaging without sacrificing rigor? Yeah, you want to be as rigorous as possible. You want to make sure that you are checking all the boxes and it's up to standard. But also, how do you do it in a way that it's engaging and you don't get worn out, you don't get stressed out that you don't even want to do it? What are your thoughts?
So engaging, I think for me, comes in two possible ways, and I want to talk about the two of them. Making a paper engaging for the readers within the rigid boundaries of academic writing is almost impossible. So academic writing has a very well-defined structure, and the structure is not fun at all. So that's one thing that I learned, because at the beginning, when I started being a researcher, I started falling asleep and reading every single paper because they were just simply boring, right? So we gotta get used to it, and we gotta write in a scientific way because it has a very clear structure, and we want to write with that structure. So in that sense, for the writing part of it, and when we're communicating with the scientific community, I would highly recommend to go with the structure and don't try to make it engaging for the readers. It's not possible. So they're at a very senior level. When people reach very high levels, they might actually incorporate mild humor or make the paper more engaging, but that is at a very senior level. I would not recommend that for the juniors. Now, how do I make it engaging for myself as the author of the work? I go with the suggestions of the Myles, which I think is crucial. It has to bond with your passion. It has to bond with your sense of duty, your responsibility. The example that was shared was incredible. You cannot wake up one day and say, I'm not in my walking mode. I cannot walk anymore. Like this is part of our life. This is a sense of obligation that we have to feel towards writing, because that's the only way that we can disseminate knowledge and let others know what we're up to. There's also this notion that I try to correct in many of the scholars that I chat with, is that, what, if I just publish this paper so that I check the boxes off and just move forward. But we don't have to look at it that way, because it's a sacred journey, in my opinion, where you talk about every bit of your finding. You talk about what works, you talk about what not works. This is our responsibility to continuously put out there whatever we find, because the science is a grand body that builds upon itself, right? Unless I talk about what works for me or what does not work in my lab, how others in my discipline would know and benefit from this. So the only way that we can allow our science and the results of our lab to really do the work that it has to do in the world is through constant communication. Now, communication can be in the form of journal papers, but it also can be in the form of technical reports. It can be in the form of white papers, thought leadership materials, etc. So it can come in many different forms and shapes, but this is our responsibility. And to really step into academia means to write.
Yeah, to step into academia, it means you cannot say you will not do your work. Yeah, that was really a very good example. You say, oh well, I'm feeling work block. I don't want to go do my job, right? Yeah, that's really funny. And it's true. It's about having that sense of duty and that sense of obligation. So Dr. Samira, I know you're going to have to leave in the next 15 minutes. So Dr. Myles, if you don't mind, I'm just going to ask her own questions so that we can, get everything we need to get before she has to go for another engagement. So I'm just going to keep going with you until you
Thank
you
you.
have to leave. Yes, thank you very much for sacrificing the time to be here. So the next question I want to ask is, what is really the role of collaboration? I know you hardly see any academic paper that is written by one person. It's tough. Even if it's a review paper that you just see, it's just one overall author. Sometimes you see as many as 6 or even 10 or even more than that. So what do you think is the role of collaboration in developing an excellent academic paper or just developing an excellent writing? What does collaboration have to do with it?
That sounds like an extremely important question. I know this notion of single authored papers is becoming more and more relevant, and even some promotions are highly dependent on the single authored work, but I don't understand it and I don't see why we should do that. It's always more powerful when we have masterminds working together. And within my program, in fact, I have collaboration frameworks, and I encourage every single mentee to knock at the door of the top players in their discipline and connect with them and work together with them. I honestly always produce work that is across multiple countries, multiple institutions, different expertise coming together. And there's a tremendous learning opportunity in that, because while we're working together, the outcome is always more empowering. Multiple intellectual properties that I hold is in collaboration with other co-inventors that I could solve only part of the problem, but they could solve other parts of it. So honestly, I think it's a lot more powerful to collaborate. Having that said, be against the idea of having random names on your paper, because this, of course, up to 10 authors is allowed. It's okay, it's expected. If it's beyond that, you probably have to explain it to the journals why you're having too many authors, except for top journals like Nature and Science, that sometimes they have thousands of authors because the scope of the work is really gigantic. So that's a different story. But within a normal paper, if you are a postgraduate student, if you're doing your PhD and you see random names that you don't even know what are their contributions coming in, do make sure that you have a clear conversation with your supervisor and ask what is the contribution of this person, what is their role. If it's not among the very well defined areas of contribution in the author's guideline of the journal, then stand up for your right. This is my work as a postgraduate student. Always make sure that you're the first author. This is really important. This is what you need to secure the next chapter for your life. Your advisor can be the corresponding author, and the corresponding author is a very big position. So I personally would not change the corresponding with anything. I am always the corresponding author because my name and my email goes out and it serves me a great purpose. Similarly, I would never take the first position of my students because this is just simply unfair. So to have that awareness around who goes to the author list, who simply will be only acknowledged, who really does have the right to be part of the authors list, and what does it mean to work together with others is crucial. We have to develop knowledge and understanding and awareness around the topic.
I think this is really very important because I think sometimes what I've seen, at least from my own experience, is that sometimes really reaching these conclusions that you've mentioned is not always very easy. Like who should make it to the paper? And then I think another challenge has been the feedback. Sometimes collaboration, in my opinion, even slows things down. As much as it's important, But I've had cases where, oh, because this person is collaborating, you are sending the work to them and you are expecting feedback and you're not getting anything for 1 month, 2 months. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with situations like that? I had to deal with some of that when I was a PhD student. It was not fun. You know, the paper comes to you, you work overnight, you do everything you want because you really want to get it out. Then you send it to this senior person and you have to remind them every week, please, could you get to the paper? Please, could you give me some feedback? Please, can you, how do you really deal with that in the scope of
Oh,
collaboration?
I know it's very frustrating, and that's something that happens very frequently. And even worse, what has happened to multiple of my colleagues and students from other groups. I'm overly protective of everything my students do, so I never let that happen. But I've seen that these big professors, like the top in their categories, who no longer have any interest in publication, to be honest, they share the fantastic ideas openly with other research groups, and before you know, the paper is published under some other people's name. So it is a very tricky thing that has to be done with so much care when we are onboarding the leading figures to work with us. Who is going to access the paper? Who is going to provide feedback? As for getting feedback on time, there is a way to do that, and I teach that in a five-step conversation for action to my mentees, and I guide them how to actually design your correspondence with these big people to make sure that you will receive a timely communication from them. And if you don't receive a timely communication, then what's the way to move forward, right? Because we don't want to be stuck with like 6 months. I've even heard from some researchers that their own advisor takes 6 months to provide feedback on their work. I mean, this is unreal. So we have to find a ways to be the leaders, even if we are still student, even if we are junior. We have to learn the ways to be the leaders of our own effort, because soon enough, as PhD holders, all of you guys are going to need it. You're going to step up and become a principal investigator. You're going to step up and claim your own domain, your own lab. So you will need to practice these skills.
Thank you very much for your feedback. Everyone, Dr. Samira will be leaving in about 8 minutes. So if you want to ask her any question, this is the time to do it. I still have 2 questions of my own, and then she's going to tell us how we can connect to her, how you can be a part of her program to learn all these frameworks she's talking about. Because to tell you the truth, sometimes just having the right mentor guiding you through a particular thing could be the difference between achieving that in 6 months or achieving it in 3 years or even more. That's just it. Sometimes just having clarity on what you're doing, it makes a whole lot of difference. Some of the things you're sharing now in my head, I'm like, why didn't I know that? Why didn't I? It could have saved me some stress, during the times when I used to be so frustrated that I wasn't getting any feedback and there was nothing I could do about it, because of course you cannot challenge these people, right? So you hit your head in the wall and then you put a smile on your face and pretend like you're good when you're not. So thank you so much for sharing that. So I just want to ask you, from a personal experience, how do you think your strong writing has really influenced your career trajectory? How has it opened unexpected doors for you? The fact that you know how to write and you are really like a top figure on LinkedIn. So you do both your technical writing and then you still do the engaging writing, because LinkedIn writing is not academic writing, right?
Mm-mm.
If you do academic writing on LinkedIn, you will be talking to yourself. So how do you think that has really helped you to stay ahead in your career and just hit your goals?
That is a very, very important question you're asking here. And this is something that next Saturday on the 19th of April, I'm going to have a dedicated training to that, which is called Visibility and Influence for Scientists, right? So because there's one thing for us to publish and then hope for the best. And then there's another thing to very actively and consciously advocate for the type of knowledge that we are generating and spread the news and be able to open many doors for yourself. So going back to your question, how do I do this between the academic writing and the presence on social media, particularly LinkedIn? I'm not on other social media, specifically on LinkedIn. So again, it comes with persistency. It comes with conscious actions on a daily basis. And it starts difficult, but it follows the compound effect, right? So the more you put practice in, every paper is going to give you more knowledge. Every submission is going to make you more resilient. And then comes a point that you become so good at it that you're like, your students, your team bring you a set of results. And in one look, you can say, this is a Q1 material, this is not. So let's do something worthwhile with it. So instead of sending it to a Q3 or Q4, let's target a good conference instead. Or this is not a good material for a book at all, for a journal at all. Let's consider a book. So there is that is practically how I deal with it. And the art of writing, like Myles was mentioning, I also call it the art. It's the art of creating that feeling in the reviewers, in the readers, in the editors, that wow, this is a worthwhile effort. This is something to cite. This is something to acknowledge. And in line with my academic progression, and as I published more and more, of course, no longer from some point onwards, you no longer track down the number of papers you care about the citation record, because you want to see what's your H index, because H index is the measure of influence for scientists. But something that's incredible is that the influence of a scientist is not only translated in H index. You can do a lot more with your knowledge. One way would be, like you mentioned, building your personal brand, being able and being willing to put yourself out there and talk about what you know quite well. And that's very scary for academics. Academics hesitate to do that big time because they are always under the attack, right? So they're always under the judgment of the reviewers and the editors. So they're like, no, I don't want more judgment in my life. I just want to live a comfortable life. But if you are willing to put yourself out there and be consistent and talk about your findings, like many examples of academics who have millions of followers, like Adam Grant is one, Brené Brown is one, incredible people who are creating waves of change, massive waves of change in the lives of everyone. Because eventually the science that we do is not for us and is not for the scientific community. If we stay limited to citation, we limit our science and our knowledge only for the scientific community. But this is what we're doing for the general public. We're doing it for the entire world. So the only way to put it out there is to constantly share your knowledge and talk about your day-to-day activities, your life, how you're doing it, so that everybody else will resonate with you.
Yeah, I think that was really powerful and well put. It's just the understanding that the science is not for the scientific community. We need to kind of change that mindset. And that is why, personally, I've always been very passionate about communication. I just believe that our science is just as good as our communication, is just as important. If you just keep it and you're limiting yourself to getting all the citation, and the everyday man does not understand what you're doing, of course, he's not going to care. So it's your business as the scientist to build your personal brand, which is not a very popular term for people in the academics, right? Truly, I remember as a PhD student last year when I decided to show up on LinkedIn and start doing things, I did get a lot of judgment. I almost gave up on it just because of people looking at you like, you're crazy. Why do you think you should go and post something about yourself? Like, who do you think you are? And then people also have the perception that you are wasting your time. Oh, the time you're using to craft all of these posts, the time you're using to do all of these things, why wouldn't you put that time into your research? Why would, it's like people have that perception that because you're a scientist, you need to lock yourself up around. And I'm so happy when I see people like you, I see people like Dr. Myles and all the people you've mentioned who try to change that narrative to say, I can have all of it. I can have a balanced life. The fact that I want to create opportunities for myself and share my knowledge more broadly, it doesn't it does not restrict me from also being excellent at my job. Thank you so much. That was such a beautiful answer. And I think Isa is telling you, he said, thank you for this clarity, Dr. Samira.
Oh, thank you so much.
Someone else says, great value, Dr. Sam. Thank you so much. Dr. Samira will be leaving us soon. I have one more question.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So my last question is just for you to give us an advice, right? So which advice would you give to that graduate student who is still hashing it out, the early career scientist, the postdoc who is just trying to figure out their life, to make a name for themselves as much as they can, make progress in their career, make progress in their writing, really, especially if academics is your interest, that it's like publish or you perish, right? That's like how it is. So what advice would you give to that person who is just struggling and trying to, get ahead?
Amaka, I call it publish and flourish, to be honest. We shouldn't really stick to that mindset of publish or perish, because that's a very limiting mindset. I want to see it as a way of flourishing. So what kind of advice I would give you if you're a PhD student If you're a postdoctoral researcher, welcome to the 1% club, right? So the entire population of PhD holders in the world, it's less than 1%. So if it was easy, everybody would do that. Nobody said that was easy. So just have that in mind. If you want to be part of this 1% club, no one said that was easy, but you're going to make it because you've come all the way and you have a big reason to pursue and push forward, and you will make it happen. You will just make it happen.
You so much for that answer. I think Somtosh, she's re-echoing what you said. She said, research is beyond publication. Understanding that you are making an impact to the generation to come keeps you motivated. Thank you so much for sharing that. Usually when people drop all these comments, people who come back can, learn a lot from the comment section. So Dr. Samira, before I let you go, I really want to thank you for your time, but I also want to give you the opportunity to share how can people connect with you? You talked about your program. You've been doing this for a while. How do people really reach out to you to benefit from what you're doing? People who really want to move forward with their
Absolutely. If you would be kind to drop my full name in the chat, everybody can find me on LinkedIn. I'm gonna write it here for you. So the moment you follow one of my posts, then you will see everything I share very, very frequently about publication, about challenges of publication. So connect with me on LinkedIn. Don't hesitate to follow the posts, and also don't hesitate to reach out whenever you need support. We're there to help you, and know that you are, although academia is a lonely journey, although you might feel actually a little bit lonely, but in essence you're not alone. We're there to support you. So feel the support and reach out whenever you need help. Yes, that's the name.
Okay, thank you so much. I managed to keep you here and took an extra minute. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you for your time. That's Dr. Samira's name, so you can really search for her on LinkedIn. And truly, she posts a lot. What attracted me to invite her for this event was just that I followed your work quite a bit. I'm like, yeah, whenever I want to choose my speakers, I really want people who have been there, done that. I don't want people who come and tell me from ChatGPT. I want people who tell me from their experience, right? People who have lived it, people who have been there and they can provide insights from their own personal journey. So I really appreciate you taking the time for giving us this hour. I hope you have a blessed day. What time is it for you? You are in Mexico, right?
Yes, it's actually 2 p.m. So yes.
Okay, so I'm just 1 hour ahead. It's 3 p.m. for me. So
no, thank you so much for the opportunity. And I'm also grateful to Myles for remaining patient until the questions are asked from my side. And like I said, I would be more than happy to, yes, absolutely. Please do connect, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions and produce content based on the challenges that you're experiencing, right? So if you share your challenges, then I would be able to redirect the content in a way that it actually helps you overcome them.
All right. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. And
of course. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Yes, you too. Bye-bye. Dr. Myles, thank you so much for your patience. So we are getting back to you so that we can finish in the next 30 minutes. Thank you very much for, just being patient and just waiting for us. She needed to leave to get to another event. Dr. Augusta is going to come back and join us. Welcome back, Dr. Augusta. Do you want to do a quick summary for us before we get to Dr. Myles? Like, just give us some of the feedbacks that you've got, maybe just in a minute or two, right? That's fine.
I feel like I've actually written a paper from all this.
A paper. Oh, okay. Yeah, give us some feedback and then we'll get back to Dr. Myles.
I'm just going to calm down and stop taking notes. Okay, so I'm going to focus more on what Dr. Samira said, starting from the top. So she said, one of the mistakes that many people make in writing is just trying to follow like the pattern, abstract, introduction, and all of that. She said we should start with the end in mind, start with the results. And knowing your purpose makes your work easy. So the results is what people are interested in, and get rid of the idea of perfection, because we get better by doing, and it takes continuous work and dedication. Then we talked about rejection. How do you cope with rejection? She was like, rejection is like normal. You need rejection to be an established author. It helps you get better. Don't worry about the choice of journal in the beginning. But if you want to really choose the best, you should look at the highest impact factor journals, and then journals that are publishing work similar to what you're working on. And Dr. Sam also said rejection is not a sentence, it's not a death sentence. You're rejected somewhere else where you're rejected some other place. and then read the comments in between the line. So even if you feel like you deserve to be accepted, you need to really understand why you were rejected in the first place so you can improve. And then collaboration, about collaboration is very important. She's a firm advocate of collaboration. And then she said students should open their eyes, because if you're publishing with your supervisor, you need to make sure that you're the first author and your supervisor is your corresponding author. So yeah, every other thing she said was recent. These are the beginning things she said, and I think I should highlight it. Thank you once more, Dr.
Thank
Sam.
you so much, Dr. Augusta. What would I do without you? Nothing.
I'm AI.
Anything without you. Thank you so much for that beautiful summary. At least you're able to just tie it together in a few sentences. And Dr. Myles, thank you so much for just waiting. In the next 20-25 minutes, we'll just get through the rest of your own questions, just so we can get the best and, like the best of all we can get out of this event, right? Now I'm going to piggyback to ask you again. You talk about the art of writing. So I want to understand, do you have a routine that you follow? Do you have a structure that helps you to stay consistent? You said you cannot say you have work block. So you cannot say you have writing block. It's today I'm hearing that one. So I'll use it to tell anybody that tell me they have writing block. If writing is part of your work, then you cannot afford to even get to that point where you say, I've burnt out, I can no longer write. It's like saying I'm not going to do my work. So do you have a structure that you follow that keeps you going, such that you don't give up on it?
I'll just speak on the few routines I have tried to put into my own life. It takes a lot of discipline to actually do them. And just like I mentioned before, if you're a writer, if you call yourself a writer or you see yourself in academia, you must pay yourself first. And when you wake up every day, have to wake up before everyone wakes up, which is like, for me, if I have to wake up 2 hours before I head into the traffic, it has to be 4 a.m. That time is just for me, spend writing, you know, until it's work time and then you head out there. Because for the rest of the day, mostly you're working for other people, you're teaching or you're doing something else. And also, another routine I have learned from people that are ahead of me, people that I tend to learn from, is that if they say if a full stop can replace a comma, replace that comma. That's when you're writing. Because sometimes when we're writing, we make long sentences and these sentences can become so difficult to understand. So keep the sentences very short, concise, clean and punchy. Readers and reviewers appreciate.
Cut the fluff, Dr. Miles.
Yeah, yeah, cut the fluff, yes. And also another routine I have learned from people that have been there before me is that you start a paragraph with topic sentences. People should be able to see that topic sentence and know what that paragraph is about, and also look at it as a GPS in that way. And then also always end your paragraphs with transition lines. Transition lines could be sort of a summary of that paragraph and also a bit of introduction into the next paragraph. So, and one other important advice is write long, edit short. What that means is just keep writing. Sometimes we tend to write, and as we're writing, we want to edit at the same time. That keeps us stuck in one. We end up not writing anything at all. So, if you say you want to write from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, just write. Doesn't matter if it's rubbish. People who win in this game, they're bad writers, but very good editors. So write fast, write messy, unfiltered, but when you become a brutal editor for your own writing, that's where the magic happens. So that's a few I have to share today.
Deep, deep, deep. I was saying word. Say be brutal. You need brutality. You need to be able to write fast, write messy, but then edit. I think that helps me a lot too. Most of the
Yeah.
time when I get a thought in my head, I just write like a crazy person. When you see me writing, like right now, I'm writing my book, it's like I just write as it comes. Just write. Just pour it all out and then come back to it again with fresh eyes. Don't try to write and edit at the same time. I think that's really the best way to stay stuck in one paragraph forever, right? You stay in one paragraph and you want to polish it and polish it until you get it right before you move forward. You're not going to be able to make a lot of progress. Thank you so much, Dr. Miles. That was very, very insightful. And I think Kayode is asking, say, please, can you get back this recording, very insightful session? Yes, you can. Dr. Augusta, if you can help me put the YouTube link again. So this event is streamed on YouTube. We have all the previous events. So if you think this is insightful, you're just starting. If you go to our events on YouTube, you can really binge watch. There is so many events that we hold. Almost every other week, we have different topics, different speakers addressing different issues. So all you have to do is to subscribe. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube, you're not doing the right thing. You're not correct, right? So make sure you subscribe and then stay connected to all our events. And then you can watch it as many times as you want, because it's a resource that is going to be there if until life tarries, right? Until there's YouTube, this event is going to be there for you to get back to. So thank you so much for asking that. And I think Somto is asking, she's saying, how about undergraduate publishing? This is an important question, right? Before I hand it over to Dr. Myles, I'm just going to tell you a bit of what I know. Thank you, Dr. Gosta. Dr. Gosta just put in the link. So Kayo, is it Kayode? Kanayo, okay, Kanayo, you can look at the link to the YouTube, so you can just keep it and watch it anytime you want. You just have to click on the link. All right. I think I always encourage undergraduates to take on research work, because especially in Nigeria, right? I know about Nigeria since I'm Nigerian, that we always have some kind of structured project before you graduate. That project is part of your graduation requirement. I don't know a department you can graduate from in Nigeria without a project. I don't know, but I know at least for the most part, there's always that bit that is required for you to not to publish, but at least to do the project. I always encourage people that that's a good opportunity to start practicing your ability to publish, to do a work that is publishable. And of course, at that level, your advisor have to help you a lot if there's someone who is understanding. I did publish my undergraduate work and I'm proud of it. So been there, done that. My undergraduate work is published and it's out there. And I did work on hedgerows and all of those things. So it's important to have that. It may not be the best paper, it may not go to the best journal, but at least it gives you practice. It gives you the opportunity to actually begin to understand how do researchers think, how are papers structured. So I always encourage any of the undergraduate people I mentor, especially those in the sciences. I will tell you, whatever it is you're doing, no matter how meaningless you think it is, try as much as possible to package it. Try as much as possible to brush it up enough that you can put it out there, that it is the work you did as an undergraduate. Nobody is expecting it to be something that changes the world. That it's possible, but at least that will not be the requirement for an undergraduate, that your paper should be going to Nature or going to any of those big journals. That would be my advice. But Dr. Myles, I also want to hear your thoughts about undergraduates trying to publish their projects. Thank you so much, Somto, for asking that question. I think it's a very important question.
Okay, thank you for that question. Yeah, I think it will, for an undergraduate that wants to publish, it will be very good to work with a mentor or the lecturer that taught you, that's teaching that component where you have to write that, like Dr. Maka put it, is it the last project you do for in the last year? It would be nice to do that. I think I remember doing that. I don't think I would think of publishing because I didn't really know where I was at that time. So it would be nice to get guidance, except if you're like Dr. Maka, who's very confident, and that work will it takes a lot of confidence, especially at that level, at that undergraduate level.
Mm-hmm.
Even at master's level, I remember being a bit vulnerable, so yes, just get someone who could guide you.
Yeah,
the lecturer or anyone else. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that additional input. Yes, I think that makes sense. The only reason why I could publish my undergraduate thesis at that point, that's what we call it for undergraduates, right? I think it's thesis. Is it thesis or is it? I know PhD is dissertation. It's been long. What do they call the thing undergraduates?
What final year project we called it?
Master's is thesis, so it's just project at that point. Oh, okay. So master's is thesis, PhD is dissertation, and then undergraduate is project. Maybe that's what it is. The only reason I was able to put out my own as a publication was because I was lucky to have a young advisor. My supervisor at the time was just starting her. She just went from, what's that first step? You go from graduate assistant to assistant lecturer, where their blood is still hot. They need to get as many publications as they can so that they can move forward. That's the only reason that worked. So I would say there's a bit of luck that went into it. It was not me. It's not because I was. In fact, she did most of the final things, right? It's not because I was so confident at that stage in my life because I knew I had it all figured out. So I would say there was a bit of luck to it. But then, if you want to control your outcome, it's just as Dr. Myles said, as an undergraduate who is doing project, yeah, Sonto, thank you for letting me know his project. This are the time you need to get mentors like Dr. Myles, like Dr. Samira, people who are actively doing this. And they can guide you. They'll be the ones to kind of critique what you already have, tell you what you need to do. I would even say if you get those mentors before you finish the work, it would even make more sense for you. If you have mentors who is helping you even through the data collection process, just to make sure that it's not garbage in, garbage out. Because if you don't have good data, no matter how you want to come and brush up the academic writing, it may not work. Especially if it is a research work that is like based on publishing a research and it's not just a review paper. So I would say it's possible because I published mine, so it's possible, right? So because it's possible, you can do it if that's what you want to do. And I think I would say this for those who are trying to get into grad school, that's a big bonus. If you're trying to get into grad school, especially if you're trying to come to the US, and if you're in a science background, just having it on your resume, on your CV, that you've published one paper, no matter, even if the impact factor is 1, but the fact that you've done it and your name is on it, it just shows that you have a bit of discipline, that you've gone through the process and you understand it. So if grad school is in your radar and you are thinking about US, I would encourage you, reach out to Dr. Myles, work with him, let him guide you with whatever you have, let him tell you what you need to do to get those publications. There are people who come to me for grad school mentoring. When I look at their CV, I tell them that I don't think you are going to be accepted. It's not me being a naysayer, it's because there's really nothing in your CV that's making you competitive. But if you want us to try, then let's go. But it's always good for you to know that if you don't have substance, if he didn't day, didn't day. That's I have one friend that always says, I say, if he didn't day, there's nothing there. If there's nothing for you to show, no matter how you want to package it, it's difficult to package nonsense. It's difficult to package emptiness. So as much as possible, just make it easier for yourself. So thank you. Now I want to ask you again, Dr. Myles. I think Dr. Samira kind of already touched on this, but I also want to get your view. How do graduate students, early career professionals, how do you handle harsh peer reviews? Like I've received some that is like you feel like it's personal. I feel like it's like this person really hates me. So how do you handle it without kind of giving up on the process and you just see it as one of those things and you keep going? I feel like we cannot talk about that enough.
Yeah, actually, I've handled it before, and how did I handle it? I gave up. And yeah, this was actually a work from my master's degree, and submitted it for publication. And the harsh feedback came, and I just put it aside, and I think I haven't gone back there to today. Uh, I think one way to adjust it is, or to handle this, from what people have advised me, is pack the emotions, the anger, the shame, the fear, the worry, put them aside, and then you should have deal breakers. What are the peer reviewers asking for? Do you want to adjust it in accordance with what they are suggesting? You don't have to agree with entire feedback. All you have to do is address it. If they want you, just address it. Tell them this is the reason why you disagree with what they're asking you to do. And then you can go from there. And another thing that helps me now is because I'm in a university. I work for a university, and there's a lot of collaboration going on. So we got a rejection even 2 weeks ago, and the chief investigator is like, "Well, let's look for another. Let's not even look at the feedback. Let's look for another journal to submit to." So when you have people like that who are experienced, it doesn't affect anyone. They pack their emotions aside. Yeah.
Pack your emotions. I like that.
Yeah.
I like it anyway. That's why I guess for me, I just know that, I don't think academia and academic research is for me personally. I don't think that's something that I'm passionate about, even though I used to teach in the university. That's like I used to be in the university back home for 3 years. And, sometimes when you are there, being there, done that, you just feel like, I don't know that I want to go through my life receiving all of these bass bros along the way, and I'll receive it and I'll be packing it. So I feel like it's also good to follow your passion. That's what I believe. I believe it's important that most of the time, the people that excel in a particular work are people who are passionate about it. You just need to find your own thing and then just double down on your own particular thing. That way you are less affected by it. So thank you for that. So pack your emotions. I like it. And then Somto says, should you be the first author as an undergraduate? Well, and now I speak from experience. For my work, I was not the first author. I was the second because my advisor did most of the work. She did most of the work of putting it together and actually getting it to the point of being a paper, right? The only time you want to begin to, I was just happy that that work is published. It's my work. It has my name in it, and it's there. It's going to be there forever, right? That's the thing with publishing. Before you begin to kind of claim authorship, you need to also have ownership in terms of you are the one who did most of the work. It cannot just be that you went through the motions of collecting data and left it at that. And then somebody else have to write the paper, do everything about the paper, and suddenly you say, I want to be the first author, right? It doesn't make any sense. But at least for my master's work, the 3 papers I published for my master's, all of them I was the first author. All the papers for my PhD, I was the first author. At least by that point, I had matured a bit, right? So for your undergraduate, I would say if you have the drive to work with somebody independently, that is when you have to now be willing to, you have to be willing to kind of commit some amount of money to it. Knowledge is not cheap, right? If you're trying to get a mentor, a coach, you don't expect them to take you through the process for free. So you are now sacrificing something. You are paying for that future that you want. And you are working with that person independently to guide you such that your advisor is not doing more than advising. If all your advisor is doing is advising, they cannot claim the first authorship. But if your advisor is the one who is actually doing the writing, doing the arranging, of course. So it's just that balance. It's about finding that balance. Okay, Uchechukwu, I see your question and I'm going to get to it in a minute. But before I get to it, let me ask Dr. Myles this second to the last question, then we can take your question. How can scholars maintain their authentic voice? I feel like that's a very important question. How do you maintain your voice when writing is so technical? There is a lot of structure. I think Dr. Samira talked about it that before people reach a point where they can even begin to freestyle and put a bit of humor, most of the time there's people who are really advanced and they can afford to do that. But as an early career person, it's just as though you are boxed into that structure. How do you maintain your authentic voice while you kind of follow the requirements?
Okay, thanks for that. Yeah, I always remember this abbreviation ACDP. The A means analytical writing, C means critical writing, D means descriptive writing, and P means persuasive writing. All these are genres in academic writing, and it's good to understand all these. Once you understand this, your voice can always kind of come in. With analytical writing, this is common in reports. And it's relevant, especially when you're doing your paper. It's relevant in discussions. When you're discussing your findings. It's kind of grounded in evidence. You have to just break things apart, dissect things. Try to just explain your findings, and this is relevant in the discussion chapter. And then when you come to critical writing, this is key for literature review. This is where you blend your interpretation with the views of other scholars. And there is a bit of persuasive writing in here. So once you understand that, look, you're interpreting the works of other scholars, it doesn't creative writing, the academic writing doesn't appear like it's something difficult to do. And then you have the descriptive writing that shows up in the method section. I think this is the easiest of them all, the descriptive writing. You are just trying to explain, I'm using these methods in my research. Once you have that mindset, you cut off all the fluffs. You just state your facts, just describe. And when it comes to persuasive writing, this comes in the introductions and conclusions. You're trying to sell your work, you're trying to draw in the readers into your work. How do you persuade them into your work? And this is where a lot of your personal views come in. And so, on having this understanding, kind of make things a bit easy, and your voice is able to flow in. And yeah, I think that's my take on this.
Yeah, thank you so much for breaking that down. Can you give me that acronym again? I always like to learn new things. So tell me, I remember persuasive, I remember P, I remember descriptive. What is the other?
ACDP.
Okay.
ACDP.
Mm-hmm.
It's analytical writing, critical writing,
Writing.
and persuasive writing.
Oh, good. Thank you so much. I think it's important to kind of write within frameworks. I'm somebody who I like structure. I believe that whenever you follow things with structure and you're not just trying to depend on your willpower or just randomly do things, it makes it easy for you to be repeatable. Once you're following a structure, it's easy for you to kind of do it over and over again and you are refining it and you get better at it. So before I ask you the last question, Uche has asked a very important question, which is that's the question of the day, right? There's been a lot of bias on using AI in writing, and that's the truth. We see that even on LinkedIn, we're not even talking about academic writing now. Even on LinkedIn, you see ChatGPT reproduced content that you can tell that the person has not even bothered to do any edit. So it's like he's asking, what are our thoughts in using AI in academic writing? So I want to hear your thoughts, Dr. Myles, before I also give my own thoughts. What are your thoughts about using AI? Thank you, Uche. I think that's a very intelligent question. Thank you.
I think using AI in academic writing, people are doing it, and because I do a lot of marking in my where I work right now, and I see, even though they will have policies that said we are not allowed to use AI, but I see people who still use them. And honestly, people who use AI, I don't need anyone to tell me. I can see it, and they don't do well. A lot of them are failing, like they get under 50. You know, you have to understand academic writing, and you should know how to write. You should understand research. And once you can do that, once you're able to do that, and personally, I feel if you use AI and you have that understanding, you're going to come out with a perfect work. But we have policies in my university that no AI is not allowed, so I wouldn't encourage it. But from my own personal view, if you combine AI and you understand research, you understand academic writing, is going to create a high level of work. So
I
that's
think
my.
yeah, you've said something very subtle, but something very powerful. For me, I think we hold the same view. It's all about using AI intelligently. That's what I think. I think the people who would take over your jobs, these days people say AI is going to take over your jobs. I say no, people who know how to use AI, those are the people that will take your jobs. It's not the AI itself, but it's the people who have known how to leverage it. The people who understand that AI is just another tool, that it doesn't replace my critical thinking. It doesn't replace my emotional intelligence. It doesn't replace my creativity as a person. It's just there for me to use it to speed things up. People who learn to use AI in that manner, like you said, they come up with powerful work because now they can speed up, but they also know how to humanize whatever they do, such that they are the ones who is using the AI, not the AI using them. Because sometimes I feel like it's AI that is using people. When you see what people produce, it's like you can tell. It's just as you said that sometimes when you read it, and this goes even beyond academic writing to even LinkedIn writing, you can just tell from the beginning, from the way the thing is sounding, from the way it's sounding, you can tell that this is just an information that ChatGPT regurgitated. And it's not sweet to read. But if you know how to use AI, you can actually come up with something that will still sound just like you. It will just be as if you are the one that said it because you know how to do the prompting, you know how to do the editing, and all of those things. So thank you for that feedback. So we are now right at the time when we are supposed to be. I think we have like 1 minute more to 1:30. So I'm going to ask you the last question, Dr. Myles, and that is, what is the writing habit or mindset shift you wish you have had earlier in your career? I know I've read a couple of your posts and you've talked a bit about, some of the earlier challenges, but now you know what you know. And this is just as a form of advice to the people who are also coming up. That way it will help them to really avoid some of the pitfalls that you fell into. That's the whole role of mentoring, right? If you're
Yeah.
mentoring someone, you're coaching someone, you're trying to make sure that they don't kind of perform the same mistakes that you made, they don't commit the same errors. So what are some of those mindset shifts that you now look back and you wish like, oh, how I wish I knew this 5 years ago, how I wish I knew this 10 years ago. It would have just been a game changer for me. Yeah.
Yeah. The biggest one is publish massively during your PhD. If you're a PhD student, just keep publishing. Publishing is just like Samir had mentioned, publish and flourish. I had a supervisor then during my PhD. It's quite different in each region, might be different to America. But publishing wasn't a thing. You didn't have to publish. And I wasn't encouraged to publish. I just focused on finishing my thesis, my creative components, and submitted. So, and the secret is that if you publish, once you're in the job market, if you don't go into academia, you get a higher chance of landing a senior position. I'm talking about the area that's Australia, New Zealand, where I live, you know. So, and also another routine is wake up before everybody wakes up and, do your writing, keep writing. Writing is a craft. You don't, it's as you keep writing, you keep getting better all the time. And I recently attended the conference in America there, and because that was the area of humanities. And one thing that surprised me was a lot of the researchers I met, they are all working on a book. Their aim is to publish a book one every year, at least a book a year. It's quite different from my field here in Australia, where the focus is on publishing articles and that. So I like the idea of having to publish a book every year. And if it's too big for you, try and get the chapters out, try and publish at least a chapter in a book, every now and then. So those are my tips so far.
I think those are very great tips. Thank you so much. You said wake up before everybody. I think that's good. For me, early in the morning has always been the best time to think clearly, to just get like the most of the work done. And then I also like the idea of publishing books, and the books can be about anything. It depends on you, right? It all depends on you. Academic writing is, while it's very important, may not be for everyone. Most of the time, academic writing only makes sense for people who are in academia. If you are not going to stick with academia, but still write, still have a legacy. I like the idea of publishing books actually, and I'm hoping to publish as many books as my life permits me to publish, because I feel like it's a way of leaving bits and pieces of yourself for when you are gone, because we won't all be here forever, right? We only have such borrowed time. So whatever work you are able to put out, those are the things that will be here by the time you're gone. Even in 100 years, there are authors that we are still reading that have been gone since 20th century, since 21st century, but we are still talking about them because they left those work, even if it was just a novel, even if it was fiction, even if it was just a personal life story, whatever it is, just be intentional about creating. Shouldn't just be about consuming, right? I think that was the post I made on, was it last week? I was saying just stop bragging about all the books that you've read and write one yourself, right? So that was a challenge for myself. So don't brag that you read so many, so many. Write one, write one, do something for yourself, contribute. Thank you so much, Dr. Myles. Before we end, I'm going to give you an opportunity to share with us how we can reach you. I know this is your LinkedIn name, at least Myles Ojabo. I hope I'm saying it right. So I know that's
Yes.
your name on LinkedIn. So just let people know how they can reach you, and also talk about your program. I know you have a program coming very soon. I think I kind of have wind that you have a program coming. So tell people about it, how they can connect with you, and how that program can benefit them.
Okay. Yeah. I'm actually developing a program called Mastery One-on-One. The focus is on helping people out with their academic writing. When I started it, the focus was on mostly people who have no clue, no idea about what academic writing is. I always get that in the class I teach. I always get this one or two people that they have no clue on what it is. Those are the people that I really feel for, because they can feel, they have all this emotional distress. And I've actually started doing it because I've met some
What happened to Dr. Myles? Did you drop yourself by chance? Let me bring you.
No,
Dr.
no,
Myles, go ahead.
can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, welcome back.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, people in my class sometimes get these two people who don't have an idea of what academic writing is. So those are people that I help. I get them in and work with them. And yeah, so I'm open to working with people who just want to kind of improve the academic writing. A lot of people. The truth is, a lot of people don't know what it is. They don't know how to reference. They don't know how to put the right citations there. But I'm also open to helping people who are not sure, who just want to discuss their work, their thesis, or their dissertations. And yeah, but the primary focus for me is undergraduate students or people who are about to go into uni and are not sure if they understand what academic writing is. So you can reach me on LinkedIn. If you come to my page on LinkedIn, I always post about my the mastery one-on-one, and there's also a waiting list. You can also click on the link and join. So that's about it.
Thank you so much. Of course, if you're here and like Somto and all the questions you're asking, you know the right person that can answer it for you. I do a different kind of thing. I don't know that I have the patience to teach anybody academic writing, right? It takes a lot of patience to be able to coach people through that because it's truly not a very easy, it's not very easy, but once you get the hang of it, then you flow along. And I think you'll be saving yourself a lot of stress. You'll really be shortening the time by working with somebody who had been there, done that, than trying to say, I'm just going to keep stumbling until I get it right. That's one thing I know for sure. In life, whatever it is you want to do in life, find somebody that have done it. Let them show you how they did it so that you can quickly move forward than saying, no, I'm going to get stuck until I get it right. Thank you so much, Dr. Miles. We are super grateful. It's so early for you and you still stayed here. You're looking really sharp. You're looking so alive. Somebody would think that it's maybe in the afternoon. They will not know it's such early morning. Before we
Yeah.
go, I'm going to give Dr. Augusta a couple of minutes to just summarize what you shared. You know that her summaries are always, so on point. Just so we can get everything that you said in just a couple of sentences or minutes. Thank you, dear Dr. Augusta.
Thank you. So I'm going to start with what Amaka said at the beginning. There is no elevator to success. Just focus on the stairs right in front of you. I mean, listening to both of you talk about academic writing, the publishing, all the things you've done, people listening may feel like, this sounds so easy. Why can't I do it? It's because they've been doing it over and over again. So, Dr. Miles says, writing, don't write mistakes to avoid, don't write to confuse your audience. Get rid of all those jargons. Don't go to the dictionary to look for big, big words to use to look legitimate. You're already legitimate if you're doing the right thing. Read a lot. So if for writers need to be readers, avoid using outdated terminology. He shared a very apt example about something he did in his work. So you want to be sure that you are constantly updating yourself, and you do this by reading what other people are doing and finding the latest work in your field. And then try not to reference every sentence. If you reference a sentence, you want to go back and add some flesh to what you're writing. And then he said, don't rush your abstract. Abstract needs a lot of work because it is your hook. Everybody on LinkedIn knows what hook is. We like to hook our audience. So abstract is the hook of your paper. Um, then about rejection. Amaka said, don't take it personally. The reviewers are really subjective. Rejection does not mean that your work isn't important. And Dr. Mai said, just pack well, pack your emotions on the side. Don't let it get to you. And then Dr. Miles talked about how he makes writing a habit by waking up by 5 a.m. So you just write big. What's the word he said? Write a lot, but edit short. Then
Edit
when
brutally, be brutal. That's the word.
brutally, yes. So create an outline of what you want to write on and stick to it. When other ideas come, note them down on the side. They could actually become another paper. Put systems in place that make your work flow. To step into academia is to write. There's no two ways about around it. And then he shared his ACDP formula about writing. This one I'm not going to repeat it. You need to pay him, enter his wait list to know what this is about. So I'll
Mastery
just
101. You need to master.
yes, I'll just give you what each of the words stand for. A is analytical, C is critical, D is descriptive, and P is persuasive. If you want to know more, Dr. Myles is there. So then he said, Amaka said, structures make your work, your actions repeatable. If you want to be disciplined or you want motivation, just create a structure and you'll
Mhm,
be to be repeatable. And they said, be the first to wake up, publish as much as you possibly can. So he shared how he wasn't able to publish because of where he is. If you have the opportunity to publish, jump on it. Don't lose out on that opportunity. And then about writing, making your writing better, he said, if you can replace a full stop with a comma, please choose a full stop. Don't make your sentences too long.
mhm.
Start your paragraph with a topic sentence and end with a transition line. Write long, edit short. That's why I wrote it. So, in conclusion, basically what everybody has said, using the words of Dr. Sam, for early career scientists, PhD holders make up 1% of the world. I'm not even a PhD holder, I'm a medical doctor. So if everyone could do it, then everyone would. Just
Mm,
give yourself grace. Know that you are making an impact and it won't be easy. Don't expect it to be easy because it won't be easy.
mm.
Yeah.
Brother Me is saying, nice recap. And I'm saying it's such a beautiful, beautiful recap. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Erimosale, for being here. And then Ifani says, informative. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I liked what you talked about the hook, right? We're always talking about hooks on LinkedIn. So also in academic writing, you should also think about it in that regard. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Myles. I really appreciate your time. Thank you to all the people who have stayed with us, listening in on the conversation. I always say it's a three-way conversation, right? We put out these events because we've just made it it's like a social impact event for us. We try to provide all of this knowledge for free. It's up to you to now take them, run with it, put it into practice. That will be your own part of the partnership, right? No matter how much somebody wants to guide you, you also have to be willing to be guided. You need to be mentorable, you need to be coachable, you need to be someone that is able to take in information and then do something with it. So Dr. Augusta Kanayo says, great recap. He says, well done to you. Thank you so much, everyone. I think this brings us to the end of our event. And as usual, I'm still going to tell you about Scholar Up Academy in the end, because why not? If not, we start with Scholar Up and end with Scholar Up so that you don't forget what we do at Scholar Up. We are now in cohort 10. If you want to join our LinkedIn Elevation program, you know what to do, right? You know what to do. So join us. I'm going to just share this short video and then we'll be
Success
on our
begins with
way.
the right guidance and opportunities. And at Scholar Up Mentoring Academy, we are here to help you unlock your full potential. Whether you're preparing for graduate school applications or building a standout professional presence on LinkedIn, we provide the tools and support you need to thrive. Our programs are designed to help you craft a compelling personal brand, position yourself for global opportunities, and achieve your dreams. Led by Dr. Amaka Ifaduba, a dedicated mentor and coach, Scholar Up empowers you with personalized mentoring, actionable resources, and proven strategies to take bold steps toward a brighter future. Scholar Up Mentoring Academy is more than a program. It's a community dedicated to helping you succeed. Take the first step today and discover how we can guide you on your journey to greatness. Follow our page for updates and access all our resources at linktree.com/scholarupacademy. Your success story starts here.
Okay, thank you so much everyone for coming. Chidi said it was an insightful session. And then Uche says, thank you so much for the wonderful hosts. You are all amazing. Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. And then he said, it's been a highly intriguing session. Glad I didn't miss it for anything. We are also glad you were here. The only thing we always ask the people who show up for our events, at least if you want to make us happy, right? If you want to make us happy, if you want to appreciate us, because now you did not pay for this session. If you were to put a dollar price to this session, it's going to be a couple of dollars, right? Or even more for you to be able to get a seminar such as this. We always say, as much as possible, write a post about what you've learned. Just make a simple post about what you've learned, tag all the speakers, tag me, tag Dr. Augusta, tag Dr. Myles, tag Dr. Samira. It's just a way to show appreciation. Tag Scholar of Mentoring Academy. Just say, at least this is what I got out of this event. And what that does is that it also helps to reinforce your learning. Sometimes when you put something in writing, it makes it more real for you. So usually that's all the payments that we like, and it makes us really happy. So if you can do that tomorrow, I'll be expecting to wake up and see posts talking about the event. Usually I also make a recap of my own. I also like to kind of write like a quick summary of what I got out of this event, because the events I host is not because I know it all, it's because I invite resource persons who are even more seasoned than me in certain areas to come and share from their wealth of experience. Having said that, I thank you again, Dr. Myles. My dear Dr. Augusta Imamon, I don't know what my life would be without you, so I thank you for being here. Enjoy your day, enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and God bless you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.